Hey everyone, it's Desiree and welcome. I hope everyone's doing well. This here is the second video for the tall, skinny, tall, whatever we want to call it, type of journal. You already saw, if you haven't yet, I'll have it linked down below or linked up there somewhere. The introduction showing the paper collection that we're going to use, because that's what we're going to focus on when it comes to a 12 by 12 paper pad. And then I'm also going to be pulling in the 6 by 6 coordinating pad that goes with it. Same thing, just smaller in size. And in that video, I showed what this is going to resemble. I find the tall and skinny works really well with 12 by 12 papers. And sometimes we struggle with how we can use them. I think a journal is the perfect way to do that. I did dig into my stash for some other papers because I always add some coffee dyed book pages. So here I grabbed a couple that I create a hinge using a brown paper bag. I have a couple lined pages from a journal that I had torn apart because it got destroyed. So why not coffee dye them? I have 3 coffee dyed papers. And again, we're going to hear some crunching. We're going to hear some flipping of paper. So if you're not good with those sounds, just wanted to give you a warning. I've got a couple dictionary pages, couple ledgers. This is actually calligraphy paper that I no longer use. Tried it. Nope, can't do it. Antique page from a catalog. And then some lined, 3-punch hole lined paper that looks old. And then, of course, our 12 by 12 paper collection. I'm not going to pull in the 6 by 6. That I think is going to come in another day, unless I feel I want to put a couple of those pages in once we get this together. So this video, we're going to focus on getting our pages set up, cutting them down, getting the signature together. This is going to be a single signature journal, and then sewing it together. And then the videos following show making the pocket, the tucks, the charms, paper clips, all that stuff that goes into it, all of the ephemera pieces and their holders. Okay, so first thing, what I like to do is look at my papers. Now I know when it comes to their collections for the 12 by 12 for Paper Rose, and again, this is what the collection is, the Artsy Print by Paper Rose. You get 12 double-sided pattern papers, 2 of each of the 12 designs. So that means you're getting 2 sets of 6 pages. So I am just going to pull those out and set the others aside. Now, unless you want to double up, again, do your creation. This is just how I'm putting it. Now I'm going to look at both sides and say, okay, this is going to be an innard, this is going to be the cover. So that's what I'm looking for right now. What's going to be my cover? I think this here's a good one for the inside. That's definitely a good cover. I think this one is going to be a good inside. That's definitely a cover. That's definitely good for a cover. And then these here, we're going to set these aside automatically because these are going to be our cards, our journaling cards. Okay, so let's pull back the ones that are for the cover, because not only am I looking at the cover, I'm looking for what's going to go on the inside. When you fold it to the center, what is that piece going to look like? All right, I really like these two. I love that one too. So that one's going to become an innard more than likely. Okay. I'm really liking this one to be the outside cover. And I like that for the inside of the cover. And then I think this one's going to be a great one for the inside. So this is going to be my center. And that was me flopping the papers off to the side. So what I want to do is I want to make my pages, the book, to be 11.5 inches tall. And the reason why I'm saying that is if I take a regular 8.5 by 11, and if I take this and just fold it in half, that's what our signature is going to look like. 8.5 divided by 2 is 4.25. Our cover is going to be 4.5 inches wide. When it comes to the top, this is 11 inches. If I cut my cover at 11.5, I'm going to have a 1/4 inch on top and bottom, and that's what I'm looking for. So for this one here, this is going to be my center piece. I want to cut off this trim piece. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go to 11.5, and I'm going to cut. Now, this strip would be great to make a washi out of. Okay, so now we have that. Now, since this is the innard, so I just made a mistake, of course. So I needed this to go down to 11. Not 11.5. I want my cover to be 11.5. So I'm going to take half an inch off the top. Still good for a piece of washi. Okay, so now this piece is 11 inches tall. So it's the same as what my other pages are going to be, or a little bit shorter. Now, I love this whole print. Absolutely love this whole print. So we don't always have to cut our pieces. So I'm going to keep it this way for right now. I'm going to pull in my cover because the cover is what's going to be 11.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here and say, okay, 11.5. And I'm just looking at what it's going to cut off and what it's going to keep. So I am literally going to take 1/4 inch off the top and the bottom. Again, washi. And I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to take another 1/4. And carefully grab that out. And I keep all of the pieces that I off cut, no matter what the paper is, I always put those off to the side. So here's my cover. How do I know? Because it's a little taller. And I'm going to keep this like this as well. All right, I'm not going to trim any of this off. So I'm going to set this aside. And we're going to set those aside. So let's work on our other ones. I am simply going to take my papers and I'm just going to fold them in half for the most part. Just making sure that these are 11. And if they are, that's perfect. I want them to stay at 11. Now this you could either fold this way or you could even fold it this way. Totally your choice. I'm going to fold them this way. I'm setting aside the catalog page and the dictionary pages because I already know, or I think, that they are taller than 11. And now these, I'm just looking to say, okay, where are these sitting? Because I also don't want my width to be more than 4 1/4. So these have to be trimmed down. And what I'm going to do to trim those down is I'm going to grab a ruler. Just a simple metal ruler. I'm going to set this here, line this up on my mat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to do just an eyeball for the lineup. And I'm going to tear along that edge. Gives it a little bit of a distressed. If you have the scissors, you could use the scissors. If you have your distress cutter, you can use that as well. Whatever you have. You can see I'm just using a regular ruler, just going along. Maybe you have a tear ruler, or you can simply just tear it on its own. You don't need a ruler or anything like that. You could simply just tear down, give it that ragged edge. All right, so now these, I'm going to fold them in half, and I want to get an idea of where it's going to go. It's just over, it's close to 5 1/2, and that's okay, because here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this, and basically I'm folding it so that it's at like 4 inches. It's just over. And now I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to tear down the side of it. I like the look of frayed edges. Some people do not. If you are not one of them, then that's fine. Just don't do this. You can leave it flat, put it in your cutter, and have a straight edge. And I just guided that down with my finger. You can see it's not completely perfect. And then I'm just going to match those up as best as I can, and then create that crease. So when I measure this, this is under 4 1/4, and that's okay. I like that. But now we're going to look at this and say, okay, I need this to be 11. So I'm going to tear this here. And I'm going to tear this here. So when I measure this, she's under 11. But I've got this great edge that's going on there. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So again, what I'm doing is I'm laying my sheet down and I'm using the grid down below, and I'm looking at an edge when I have it folded, what is measuring up to be 4 inches. And I'm just inching it over and saying, there we go. So that when I lay that down, I know this side here is 4 inches. And then this one here, I'm just matching that up with that tear. You could take your ruler, line it up with that edge, and create your tear that way as well. So all kinds of different ways to get the look that you're looking for. And again, just getting an eyeball here. All right, I'm going to tear here, and then I'm going to tear here. Yep, and I'm under 11. Not looking for it to be perfect. This here is 9, so I know this is going to be just a little bit. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to look at the height. This is 12. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use my ruler on this one, and I'm going to take about a ½ inch off the bottom. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to take another ½ inch off the top so that I'm getting this under 11. And again, creating my pile off to the side there. And now I'm going to look at this. And I'm going to see how wide that is, how far that comes out, because I do know that she is going to come out. And you know what? I am going to tear this down. I'm actually going to bring this down to here. You could fold in your edges if you want. Totally, totally up to you. Okay, tearing is done. So now these pages are set and ready. So I'm going to set those aside. For these here, we've got to cut these down to 11. So I'm going to bring my cutter back in. And I know this one here, we're just going to take it right down to 11. Again, not being precise. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. And then finally, the same thing with this one. Now, what I do want to see is when I get this one to 11, where's that going to take me? So I think I'm going to take this up 1/4 inch. I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to take a small amount off the top. Now, why did I do that? And now I have paper stuck. There we go. I really wanted the drips. Again, I'm just looking at my papers and saying, okay, really liking what this is doing and what that is creating. Okay? And I'm going to leave this one alone, and I'm going to set that in there as well. For these, I just want these to fold in half. So I need these to be cut at 9. I'm looking at the paper and saying, okay, what side do I want to cut off? I really like this. I want to keep those leaves. So I'm going to cut this side off. So I'm going to turn her around. And I'm going to bring this in to 8.5. Nope, I'm going to bring this in to 10. I'm cutting 2 inches off. I'm going to flip her around, and then I'm going to get this down to the 8.5, and I'm going to cut this side off. This can be a belly band, and these can be tags or collage pieces. So I'm looking at sizes as well when it comes to what I'm cutting off, so that this here, when I fold it in half, I have the majority of that design. I mean, it's beautiful. Jeez. So very bold. And then we've got this on the inside. So then I'm going to put that over there. And now we just have this one. So it really doesn't matter which way we go when it comes to this paper. Of course, I want the writing in the right way. I'm just going to take this right to 8.5, and I'm just going to cut. This can be one of those long, big tags. And then that's what our inside looks like. Okay, so the leaves are coming down. So this is actually, I mean, you would think that the leaves would go up, but then your writing's going to be upside down. And some of it's right side up. So it doesn't matter. Again, does not matter. I'm going to move my cutter out of the way. And now I'm going to fold this in half. So here we have our innards. This is an innard as well, but we're going to do something special with that. Here's an innard, or those are all the innards as well. This is our cover, and this is our inside. So let's work on our cover first. I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it in half. Now this is wider than what we want. We want this to be 4.5. So when I put this down, this is actually 6. And what I want to do is 1.5 inches is going to be folded in. Now, you could use a scoreboard. What I like to do is take this, again, using my grid. I'm going to line it up. I'm going to grab my ruler. Metal rulers are awesome. And I'm going to put this right on the 1/2 inch line. Hold it in place. It's got a cork bottom. And I'm just going to bend my paper up. Remove. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to crease it down more. Lining up the corner and then just swiping up. Notice I haven't pulled in any bone folders yet. I don't want to do that yet. And now I know when I fold this over and I measure that, I'm at 4.5. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take it, I'm going to line it up on my grid. I'm going to line up my ruler. Hold it down and bend the paper up. And just swipe along the side. This can be done with any ruler. You usually want to use a metal one because it can slide. This paper is slick with a piece of cork underneath, but that works just fine. Going to do the same thing, bring in my corner and swipe up. Fold in half. And there's our cover. We have this beautiful design here, and we have this on the back. I am not worried that these are off in any way. You can line them up just by taking this, pulling it up, and pushing down on your finger. Doing the same thing on the other side. And there you go. All right. And then we have either flip outs or we can turn these into pockets because they're not too far in. Because remember, when we have our side pockets, you only have 4.5 or 4.25 once you get to the inside. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing with our center piece. I'm going to fold it in half. You can keep it folded in half. Grab your ruler. Again, We're looking this time though for 4 1/4, not 4 1/2. So I'm going to line up my ruler right on the 4 1/4. I'm going to bring it up, remove. I'm actually going to fold it back on this one and swipe up. Now you can keep it like that, or to test out what you're looking at, I'm going to see what it looks like folded in. And I do like the way that it looks like folded in. I'm going to keep that folded. You don't really have to bring your ruler in again. Keep it folded and just line up your folds. Now, you can certainly leave this one like this. You have that one like that, but I am going to turn it back in. Whenever it comes to the center of my journal, I love the fact that, okay, we have this, and when we open it, we have this whole beautiful splash of color. So now we know this is our center. So I'm going to put that in the center of our cover. For this piece here, so we kept it solid, and that's because I just didn't have the cart to cut into this. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this, we're going to fold it in half. We're going to look for 4 1/4. Matter of fact, on this one, I'm going to look for 2 or for 4. Again, you can make your pieces different sizes or different widths. I have that crease. I'm going to bring her back. I'm going to flip her over. And I'm going to match up the folds. If I'm not perfect, I'm okay with that. So this one we have this, and on each of the pages we will have that. You can decide once your book gets together, would you rather it to go like this? Again, it's just paper. We are just bending paper and having fun. So this is what one side of the page would look like. This is another one. And then when you come over here, this is what you're seeing on the sides. So let's decide, but let's get our pages together. We know this is our cover and our center. And what I like to do is lay out the papers. So I have pattern paper here. I have the catalog. I have the 2 pieces of dictionary. I have the 2 book pages, the lined, coffee, calligraphy, and ledger. We're going to start from the center. And I'm going to start with a piece of calligraphy, and I like show each page. And then I think I'm going to come in with a book. And then come in with a coffee dyed. I'm going to come in with a piece of ledger. Come in with coffee dyed again. That might change. I'm going to come in with a lined going to come in with a dictionary. Now I'm going to come in with a lined. I'm going to come in now with the pattern paper. Calligraphy. The general lined. The catalog. Coffee. Hold off on that coffee. I'm going to pull out that one piece of coffee there. Now we'll come in with the coffee. It's like you're playing cards. Book. Ledger. Coffee. Dictionary. Another piece of coffee. Okay. So now we have that. Like that. I'm going to go with it. Now, we're going to put our cover on. And you can see when we put this in here, we have a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom. Here's our cover. So now, I've got 2 pieces of pattern paper to put in. And I want to put this one here. And I want that print to be out. And then I'm going to put the other one here. And we're going to put that there. So now we've got our innard set. I do like a chunky. I'm just going to snap these even for the most part. And then get these centered in here. Now, if you think that you have too much on the top and the bottom, you can trim it. But I kind of like that. Though I am going to look because that might be too much on the top and the bottom. And it is. All right. So, I'm going to grab a clip. Because I don't want these pages to go all over the place. Okay, so I am going to grab my cutter, and what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to take a little smidge off of the top here. Just a small one. Make sure it's even. And now let's see what this looks like again. I still think it's a little too much. And again, this is the beauty of creating your journal. pull that out, set that in, and there we go. That's what we like. And that is what we have so far. Now, when we sew this in, and if I take this and if I really push that in, these are going to be almost lined up, which I'm fine with. Again, I love things sticking out, popping up, popping down, and all of that. Because as you add more and more pages, see how this is flipping out here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So there are 19 pages, 20 including the cover. And that's what we are looking at. Okay? So I'm going to grab my innards again. Make sure that they're there. I like to snap the sides. And whatever needs to be lined up gets lined up. Tap it. I know I'm shaking my camera. And when I come back, I'm going to have my bulldog clips to hold this together. I'll have my thread, my needles, and my awl and everything. And we will get this journal sewn together. All right, I've got all my supplies to sew my junk journal together. And as you can see, I'm not going to sew in this journal. If I was going to sew this or any of the pages, I do that before I sew my signature together. Not feeling it? Nope. So we're not going to do it. All right, so I first focus on the innards. I make sure that these are flat along the edges. I pinch in down in that center, and I start adding my bull clips around, keeping it tight as I can. Some of the pages, I hope, get caught. You know, like that one, it's not, but it's going to get caught up here at the top. So I'm okay with that. Now, whenever I'm sewing, so now I've got my bulldog clips. So now I'm going to take this and put it into my cover and just have the little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom. I'm looking to make sure, and this shifted. Okay, just going to get this right into the cover. Find my center. I'm going to look at the top, look at the bottom. This needs to be scooched up because it's even with the bottom, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to scooch her up. Again, I'm just eyeballing this. All right, now we're going to start putting our clips on. Some of them are stronger than the others. Okay, now we've got our clips on. She's in there. I'm looking at the top and the bottom. Looks even. And here we go. Now, you could make a template. What I would do is get a scratch piece of paper. But again, you've got to remember, this here is measuring, 11 1/4 now. So we only have 8.5 by 11 copy paper. If you have a scratch piece of 12 by 12 that you can cut down to size so that it's even with your covers and all of that, you certainly can. If this was a multiple signature journal, I would do that. I would take the time to create a template, whether I have 2 signatures or 6 signatures. This is only one, so I just eyeball it. That's all I do. I'm going to use my awl. I'm going to take my journal and I'm going to eyeball the center, just like that. I'm going to fold down and I'm going to push through. I'm going to lift it and make sure I came through the center, which I did because it's right there. All right, I'm going to come through a little bit more. I'm going to come up and I'm going to pull out. I want to do a 5 hole, so I need 2 on this side and 2 on this side. So I come from the top about 1 inch. I'll line up my cover to a line on my grid and just say, okay, here's 1 inch, close a little bit, come through, and then I just go in the center, find my center again, and say, okay, I'll go up about 2 inches on that one and come through. By closing it a little bit, that helps me come out the center of my pages. I'm going to keep this closed. I'm going to line up my center hole on my board, and I'm going to come over 2 inches, again, eyeballing it, coming out, and then I'm going to line this edge up, just eyeballing it, coming out about 1 inch down. That's all I do. Now, again, these don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be even. You just want to make sure that where you're putting your holes is you're grabbing all those different size papers. So if you have like strips, you want to make sure that they're caught. And you always want to make sure your papers are caught by at least 2 holes so that it won't spin in there. You want 2 holes so that it'll keep it secured flat coming out and as you turn. All right. All right, so we can put our awl back. Here's my needle. And I'm going to be using some wax thread. And it's in black. I thought black would be cool. And now I've just got to find the end because, that, of course, is something that I'm not going to be able to find. Here, I found it. Okay, and I'm going to go 3 times, 3 lengths. And I like to go just a little more, about 1/2, just for good measure, because in case I want charms to come out of the bottom. And this one, I really do think I want that. I want to put some charms off the bottom. I'm going to thread my needle. All right, so I'm going to grab my book, I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to go from the inside out. There's my needle. And I'm going to pull through. I want to make sure that I leave a tail. I want this tail to sit here, and I'm going to put a clip on it, just in case. And that'll drive me crazy because it's going to flop all over the place. I'm going to turn my book. And I'm going to come from the outside and go towards the inside. And when you fold your book, your signature, you'll slide right through and you will be inside where you need to be. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull. I'm not going to pull too tight yet. I'm now going to go to the top. Going to pinch this close, and you can see I'm just coming straight out. By just closing that just a little bit, it helps with that. I'm going to turn my book again, because now I'm going to go back into this hole. All right. But what I want to make sure is that I'm not crossing the threads. I don't want to pierce inside the thread. So I'm going to push her up a little bit and go back into that hole. And I'm back in the center. And as you're pulling, you'll feel if you went in the thread, because the thread will move with this. And I don't see that I did that. Okay. So now I'm back to the inside. I'm going to skip this hole and I'm going to go to the next one, which is right here, closing a little bit. I'm going to come out. And there are so many different ways to do this. And I'm going to pull. I'm going to close. I'm going to come into the top. I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to pull. I'm not going to pull so tight because I'm going to go back into this hole here. But again, I don't want to cross my threads. So I'm going to push her up just a little bit. I'm going to find the hole. And I'm going to come out. Now I crossed in that thread. I can see it. But I'm going to bend her down. And now I'm going to pull. And of course you will always get caught on your pages. And I can tell I did not cross because this came down as I came in. You'll know me, and what I mean by crossing your threads is your needle, as you go in, actually goes in between the thread. Let's see if I can do it here. So here's the thread here. So if I take my needle and carefully punch in. So you can see I'm in the center of that needle. See how it's, the needle's going through the thread. I don't know if you can see that. You don't want to do that because you have to tighten these threads up just a little bit. All right. But now on our final, I've got to go back from the outside to the inside. So same thing. I'm going to take our original thread and I'm going to push up. I'm going to pull it up. Same thing here. I'm going to come in to that center, if I can find it. And I can already tell I'm off. Because you'll feel it. Gonna bend. Okay, now I think I'm okay. So I'm in and I'm going to pull up. There we go. Now that we're in the center, I'll take that clip off because it was driving me crazy. You want to make sure that one tail of your thread is on one side of this center band and your other thread is on the other side. Now these threads are different lengths and I'm going to even them out. And what that means is I'm going to travel the thread. So knowing that I ended here, I'm going to pull from this one. So I'm shortening that one up just a little bit. I'm going to come back in. I'm going to pull this one, which should bring down, and of course I choose black thread. Hold on here. Let me grab a piece of white. And of course, you know, the whole time. There we go. So now I pulled here, making this one shorter because this one was the one that we threaded with. I'm coming in. Now I'm going to pull this and you can see that that's getting shorter. I know if I went out, I'm going to pull on my center. And this is why you don't want to cross your threads so that you can travel the thread. And see how that one got a little tighter. going to come out and I'm going to pull this one, which is tightening my center. I'm going to come in here, pull this one. You can see that's getting tighter there. And then I should be able to pull on this tail that we left first when we first started. And you can see that's going to go down. So because I didn't cross those threads, I'm able to travel. I call that traveling. And now these are closer in length. It's not too far off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull straight up. Not too much. You don't want to get crazy here. And I like to do this. And I do it to the outside. That's a little loose, a little loose, little loose, little loose. You don't want to have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, 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 and pull. All right. I'm going to pull to the top. And I'm going to pull to the top. And then I'm going to pull this thread. There we go. We're still close. And again, whenever you pull, you want to go straight up. So I'm going to close it. Nice. 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 Straight up, straight up. All right, now we're just going to tie a knot. It's a process, and I'm sure I made it a process for you, but that's just what I do. I like to travel. Now, you don't also have to use wax linen thread. You can use DMC floss, you can use cotton, you can use anything that you want, but it's got to be strong. You want it to have strength to it. And they are nice and tight. The strings are hanging out in case I want to add a charm, or if I change my mind, I can still tie this into a bow. What I like to do now, and to finish it up, because right now it's bling, it's got a lot of energy that's going on in the journal. And what I like to grab is a rubber brayer and just roll. Just roll. And that just helps those pages to go down. These will continue to go down because we're going to keep on bending this. We're going to be playing with it. We're going to have some fun. You can see now that everything is sewn in, I don't have the overhang on this edge because they have snapped in, because we have these tight. Again, not ridiculous. You want these to move a little bit, which they are, but you like to have the snap on the outside. Okay, so that's our front, and that is our back, and then these are our pages. I'm going to check on this one just to make sure that I've got two, and I do. So rubbing my finger here, here's an opening, here's a sewn, here's a sewn. This just made this sewn up here. So you always want to make sure, because if you only have one, it'll turn. You'd be able to spin it. It's not bad. It looks great when you do that. It's an element. And then here we just have all of our pages. And here we can decide, okay, do I like it like that? Or do I like it like that? So you have the ability to flip your flip outs either way. You could have made one flip out longer than the other. You could have had your flip out all the way on the edge. I do like them even sometimes, especially in this case, because I just wanted to have that there. So again, have fun with it. And that is the beginning of our tall and skinny. Let's call it that, the tall and skinny. So in the next video, we're going to just start making our ephemera, our pockets, cutting down our cardstock, making different shapes, adding in outside elements when it comes to different things, and just digging into our stash for what we can add to our journal. All right. As always, I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's lengthy. I know I'm gabbing, but I just want to make sure that you're seeing all the steps when it comes to how I put together a journal. Again, everybody does it differently, but I have been inspired by so many when it comes to their style and how they put their journals together and how they look at the pages and so forth. We all have that recipe, I like to say, when it comes to putting all this together. All right. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below, and I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and by all means ring the bell, because hopefully you'll be notified. Yeah, I can't control that. I'm just saying. Just saying. But enjoy the art that you create. Remember, paper can be anything that you want it to be. It's got two sides, and you can make those two sides look any way that you want them to be in your art. Paper is not just for cards. It's for journals. It's for albums. It's for folding. It's for home decor. It's for anything. And that's what you're going to see here. But enjoy the process. That is what is most important. Just enjoy the process. Don't get stressed. Don't get frustrated. Walk away if you have to and breathe. But enjoy and have fun. All right? But remember what is most important for me always. Be creative in everything that you do every day, guys. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Till then.